All right, everybody, come on in, come on in. Thank you all so much for being here. For anybody new here, hi, I am Maggie, Maggie the substitute teacher. You may know me from my cooking channel. I make food and femininity content. Lucy and I are the founders, the proud founders of the Finishing School for the Modern Woman, which, shameless plug, is open for enrollment. It is a privately taught 8-week finishing school for ladies of all ages, where we teach you about elegance, etiquette, femininity, and being the best version of yourself. We only do it twice a year. Class starts next month. So please, if you are someone or you know someone, go to teachablemomentswithmaggie.com to enroll. Lucy, please introduce yourself and let us know what are we talking about tonight.
Hola Maggie. Hi everyone. Yes, I'm Lucy. I have a channel mostly with content about speaking Spanish, learning how to speak Spanish, basic Spanish, and then this year I decided to change the content more related to femininity, elegance, and issues that impact women after a certain age. So those are going to be that's going to be the content for this year. And I think that the live streams that Maggie and I have had, I think that has met the requirement for that new content. And the reason I suggested this topic is because, at least for me, it's a reminder to just sometimes as wives, we need to take a step back and think about some of the ways that we could be hurting our relationships. And this is going to be a good one.
Oh, yeah. So sit back and relax. Who do we have here? Work Through It is here. We have Cheryl Riley checking in. We have UFO Kamikaze. Thank you all, everyone, for being here. So, as always, I have linked the video in the description if you want to watch it without our commentary. This one is a little bit longer, so we'll probably break it up into 2 or 3 parts. This is from the Happy Wife School, and she talks about 3 ways that we women are toxic in our relationships. Now, disclaimer over here, we believe in traditional gender roles. We believe in husbands and wives. And I will never say that we are equal, because we are not. We are equally valued. But I believe that we are very different, and our differences make us beautiful together. But there are some things that we are hardwired to do as women that don't help us in the relationships that we want with masculine men. So we are going to play the video, and I'll let the Happy Wife School make her points, and then we will give our commentary, and I'll break it up in between. And we always love to know what you all think. So please let us know in the chat, or we can drop the link if you want to talk with us. This is our way of giving back, and we stream twice a week. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will get started. All right, so let's see here. That word toxic just makes me already kind of like, it's such a trigger word for a lot of people. But it's just, bad behavior. And we can do better if you want to do better, ladies. All right. So she has a little bit of an intro. So I'm going to mute myself, and I'm going to start it in, and we will listen to what she has to say.
Started. So what I want to talk about today is 3 toxic wife behaviors that you need to know. And for the women watching, the purpose of my channel, it's called the Happy Wife School, the red pill for women. And I was very blessed really early on in my marriage. My husband and I got married about 10 years ago. We've been together for 15 years. And the first year into my marriage, I was very, very blessed to be red pilled. And what I define as the red pill in the context of what I speak about is being exposed to the truth of our woman ways, so that we can grow and evolve as women and as wives to become the best versions of who we are, and to really unlock and discover our true nature as women, which is soft and kind and loving and nurturing. And the behaviors I'm going to talk about today are the very things that mask and disconnect us from truly knowing who we are as women and expressing ourselves as women, as real women in our marriages and relationships with good men. I think we're ready to go. If
All right, so I want to unpack this. She's already said a lot here, and I love the foundation that she has laid about the true essence of a woman is soft, and soft can often be misinterpreted, especially by modern women, as weakness. But if you come to the finishing school or, sign up for group coaching or one-on-ones with me, I offer that. You can go to teachablemomentswithmaggie.com, accountability, unless it's a language barrier, then Lucy can speak to that. But my man often says, Maggie, tell the ladies you're already feminine. You just have to stop fighting it. And you all are going to see, we'll be rolling out some testimonials from some of our students. And one of the ones that I've previewed so far talked about how it was already in her. She just had to tap into that light. We have to give ourselves permission to be all the things in a good way that a woman is, and not mask it or push it down. This modern world that we live in, which all of its advances, and they're great, if left unchecked, ladies, especially those of us who work in maybe masculine field, maybe you're around boys, or you just find yourself becoming harder, harsher, louder, more competitive, more defiant. That is not who we are. So if you've been given feedback, or if you find yourself always at odds with people, that is not the true essence of being a woman. So I love that she laid that groundwork, because that lets you know where her perspective is coming from. What would you add, Lucy?
I wasn't aware that she had only been married for 10 years, but had been with her husband for 15 years. So it took some time for them to decide whether they were going to be together that way. That's really interesting. I do think that the modern world tends to tell us women to suppress that femininity that comes from within. And I think that that's the reason why so many women are so confused about what it is that they're supposed to be while they're out here in the modern world. Even though, if we pay attention, our men are telling us what they want from us. So again, if you feel that you need to reject what those men that are in your environment that care for you, that are telling you some things, I think it's time to step back and listen to them, because men will not tell you something that is going to be hurtful if they love you. If they don't, if they have nothing to do with you, they will leave you alone. They will let you be. But those who care about you, listen to them.
Absolutely. I see you all coming in the chat. Hello, Erin, Laura, Lily. Hello, everyone on Instagram and TikTok. Let's continue.
and disconnect us from truly knowing who we are as women and expressing ourselves as women, as real women in our marriages and relationships with good men. So the purpose of today's talk and what I want to teach today is for women to see these toxic behaviors that we have, because it's not until we see them and can identify them in ourselves and shine the flashlight on them that we can change and actually have a healthy, loving relationship with our husbands and a healthy, loving relationship with ourselves. You can check out, I've got 2 videos that go more in depth of my story of being red pilled. Red pill, not all red pills are the same, and then women must be red pilled. So I encourage you to check those videos out. For men watching today, this is for you. And my message is for women who want to see that they are the problem in their marriages and they're married to good men, men that are hardworking, loving, kind, thoughtful. When you think back at the man that you married, that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with, that he was a loving, kind man. And women know whether we are with good men or we are with bad boys or narcissistic men. We know. And most women are married to good men.
I gotta sound the horn and unpack this one. I love that she makes the distinction between good men. One of the things that I've learned in my journey of sharing what I know and what I do is just assuming that women had picked good men. And I love that she puts the accountability on us. Ladies, you know if you've picked a bad boy. You know if you've picked a fun boy. You know if you've picked someone who's just kind of like, you know what, let's just live for today, tomorrow may never come. But especially if you've married, if you see husband qualities in a man, you know he is a good man. So I get a little bit annoyed sometimes when people come through, and of course, that, one time at band camp, oh, well, he's a narcissist. Well, you picked him. So this only applies to good men. And if you did not choose a good man, then that's something that you need to remedy. The other thing that I just want to talk about, she talks about the red pill. And I'm going to say this, ladies, there's a lot of content on the internet, and that's great. But some people use these labels. The red pill label, I had never heard of until this last year or two that I have been talking and sharing what I know in on YouTube and other channels. Here's the deal. Relationships and men and women and the way that we marry and have families and all of that, this has been the way we've done things for hundreds, thousands of years. Unfortunately for us, like we talked about, this modern world not only brings in advances in technology and other things, but especially for modern women or people in this time period who think, oh, we can redefine things, or we're equal, or all of the things that are, I will say, against the truth. I was having a coaching session before this one, and I told the young ladies, I said, if you believe in traditional relationships, whether you believe in scripture or not, the man was created first, and then the wife is the helper, the helpmate to that man. So that means there are things that the man is going to be strong at and we're not. There are things that we're going to be strong at and the man is not. So I don't want us to get sidetracked with red pill. I understand that's a label for the truth. Let's just say what has worked for generations is what we want to get back to. What would you add, Lucy?
Yes, and unfortunately, in the Western world, tradition and things that we have learned from before are is being erased by design. They unfortunately the thought about having a nuclear family, having that husband and wife, having that family that creates society, a society that gets along well with each other, is being destroyed. So again, if you want a traditional type of counseling or guidance, this is the place to be. Otherwise, you can go find a lot of content everywhere else. Because again, for some of these content creators, chaos brings in more followers instead of those of us that are trying to spread the word about trying to get back to basics and create a good foundation for your children in the future.
All right, let us continue.
My message is also for good men married to women, because these are our women ways, what I talk about on this channel. So for men today, the good men watching, it's important for you to understand your wife's woman ways and how we operate in our woman ways in a marriage. Because what happens for good men is that the manipulation, the games, the traps that we set as women in our relationships work to blind you and make you think that you are the problem in the relationship. We manipulate you into thinking you are the problem in the relationship. So you have to know these behaviors in your wife so you know what to look for, and that you can learn to be grounded in knowing who you are as a good man. So no matter what your wife makes you believe about how you're the problem in the marriage, you can know, nope, that's not me. I know who I am, and what you're saying and what you're telling me and how you're treating me isn't a reflection of me. and who I am as a good man. So with that being said, and just setting up who this video is for, why it's important for women, why it's important for men. Next, I want to define toxic. So again, this video is 3 toxic wife behaviors you need to know. And toxic is one of those words that gets thrown out that loses its meaning and it becomes trite. So I wanted to define that for us today. What does it mean to have toxic behaviors in our marriage as women? So toxic behaviors are very harmful behaviors that exist in a marriage in a pervasive and insidious way in the marriage. Toxic behaviors are very harmful behaviors that are pervasive and insidious in the marriage. And I also like the definition of insidious: developing so gradually as to be well established before becoming apparent. And that's
All right, I just want to unpack this one right here. I see UFO Kamikaze in the chat saying exactly. And ladies, this one is going to hurt, but it is so true. And whether we know what we're doing or if we want to feign ignorance, this is what we do. And that insidious word just means we are planting the seed. And then what grows is this, like she said, toxic relationship. And you look up and you're like, how did we get here? But women, here's the good news. We are the nurturers in relationship. And I talked about this in the coaching earlier too. I'll give you a free one. So many modern women don't even know what it means to nurture. We just turned off that side of us. We don't make anything beautiful anymore. To me, nurturing means, can you make it better? Can you make it beautiful? Can you take ingredients and make a meal? Can you take a house and make it a home? Can you take a little weekend getaway and make it memorable? Can you take a relationship, a man and a woman, and make memories together? The men they're the ones that slay, that conquer. It is our job to keep those home fires going, to nurture, to speak life, to do all those things that make us the type of woman that our man is like, man, what would I do without her? So the opposite of that is when you tear away, when you insult, when you cut down, when you do things, when, as we say in the South, when you throw rocks and hide your hands and then act like you have no idea how we got here. Or even worse, you blame your good man, you always, you never, all of these things. I always say I don't believe I have a place to speak to men. I believe that the older women teach the young. I'm so grateful for the men that are in our community, but I'll give you an example because we speak from our own lived experience. Lucy and I both have marriage and relationship experience, and I am a mom of 2 teenage boys, and Marcus is a senior, and he has plans to go to the military. And so his girlfriend is all anxious about him going away. And he actually told me how it was kind of stressing him out. And I'll tell you what I told my son. And if I may, I would advise this to the men. And I said, Marcus, you are going to have to sit her down and tell her very plainly, this is my decision. This is what I'm doing. And your life and whether or not you want to be a part of this is completely up to you. But your tears, your complaining, your 20 questions is not changing anything. And I told him, sometimes women, you just have to like virtually rattle our cage and let us know that's not going to fly over here. And so I would just, advise men, if you see some of this insidious behavior in the beginning, you need to cut it out from the root, or it's only going to grow. And then you will have a seed planted and you will not want the crops that it develops. What would you add, Lucy?
I like when you said that as women, we are meant to make life beautiful for our children, for our husbands. Men already have a hard life out there. For them to come back to a contentious a person that's always complaining, a person that's always thinking, the worst about things. We are supposed to make their lives beautiful. That's what we are here to do. So again, it's beautiful that you sat down with your son, to tell him that, yeah, when men take a decision, that's how it goes. And we can either complain and do throw our tantrums, or we see that they've taken a decision, and that's the decision that we will go with.
I love that. UFO Kamikaze says sound advice. We love it when the men cheer us on. Aaron Laura says that's tough but honest. It's true, ladies, because you will not respect a man that you can wrestle to the ground with your tears and complaining. Hello, Dr. Steele. All right, let us continue.
That's what I had to see about myself and my toxic wife behaviors and toxic woman ways, is they were so insidious and gradually developing through the relationship and well established, that it blinded my husband, who is a wonderful man, blinded him to see how I was operating and how I was manipulative in the relationship. And that's what good men need to know, that these behaviors are insidious and they're pervasive. And women, we have to be honest about these behaviors in ourselves and the toxicity that we bring into a marriage and a relationship. It's easy for us to label our relationship or our marriage as toxic, yet we have no accountability to see how we are the toxicity in a marriage and a relationship with a good man. As women, we are the toxicity in the relationship. And I had to see these things about myself again and be red pilled. That's the point of this video today for the women watching. This is to be red pilled, to know if you're doing the things that I'm going to talk about, that you have to know your intention is to be insidious and infiltrate the relationship with your manipulation, with your woman ways, not to beat yourself up. The purpose of what I share is not to bash women. It's not to make women bad and wrong. It's to expose us to these things in ourselves so that we are empowered to change. And it's to expose these things to good men so you're validated for your experience. You don't feel like you're crazy, and that you can open your eyes to what's really going on so you can find your strength and confidence to navigate these behaviors in your wife and your marriage in a way where they do not become toxic to you, and so that you are empowered. And women, we have to know these behaviors and not just laugh them off and think, oh, yeah, I do that, and make fun of them or laugh at them like we might when we see these things played out in a movie or in a sitcom. What I've had to learn in being red pilled and seeing the truth of my woman ways, seeing these toxic wife behaviors in myself, is that I'm accountable. I'm accountable and responsible for the wiring of me as a woman. When I take accountability and responsibility for these things in myself, it allows me to hold myself to a standard of having character and integrity, to make different choices, to choose to show up in a way where I am the best version of myself. And I'm not letting the wiring of myself as a woman take over and then make excuses for myself.
Okay, I love that. This is so good. I want to unpack here. And ladies, if you would be so brave and so bold to think about what is a way that you have had maybe a toxic behavior in your relationship. I always put myself on the hot seat, but I'll give you all a specific one. But general, and then I'll give my example, and then Lucy, if you want to do the same, you can. Um, the word accountability is something that, if you want to know what men think, ladies, they often say, we are not accountable. Accountability looks like and sounds like, well, you bring it out of me. Well, you know how I am. Well, it's not my fault. All of these excuses that we do for bad behavior, let's just call it on the carpet and call it bad behavior. Because the men that we love, the men that we admire, they are responsible. They are men of their words. They do it whether or not they feel like it, right? They lead, they take responsibility. If the buck stops with them, we admire that in a man. I think we should have the same self control and accountability so we show up just as serious as the men that we want to be in relationship with, not in a masculine way, still in a very feminine way, but being an adult about our behavior, knowing how we are and saying, yeah, you know what, I can do better. In the coaching session right before this, I read one woman the riot act and I told her this is unacceptable. And she said, yeah, my man said the same thing. And I wanted to throw my shoe through the screen because I'm like, why am I here? You got a man who told you these are his expectations. You did not do them, came to me, which is fine. And then I'm telling you, yeah, we need to get better in this area. And you already knew that. That is very disrespectful to the man that you want. So don't be surprised, ladies, when we don't get the outcome that we expect if we are not accountable for our own behavior. So I believe older women should say what we've done right as well as what we've done wrong. So in my relationship, I've been in a long term, married for 10 years and then in a long term, but kids are almost up and out. So one day, we don't live together. And of course, like most women, I think, oh, it's just going to be wonderful to just spend time together looking into, each other's googly eyes and just like, fantasize about a wonderful life frolicking through the grass. Men like to get stuff done. Of course, they like to be with their women, but we can be a distraction, especially if they have other goals, other things that they're trying to do right now. So in the beginning, one of the things that I used to do was kind of nag and whine and complain. When am I going to see you? It's been 2 days. I don't feel like we spent enough time together. Maybe I'm the only woman here that does that. But I did some of that manipulative behavior, kind of like feel sorry for me, maybe to guilt him to put down the stuff that he wants to do and come see me. I don't have that kind of man. He flat out told me, he was like, babe, I got other priorities. And when he said it just so matter of fact, I was just like, really? There are other things more important than my heart? Yes, ladies, there are other things more important than how we feel. What I now do instead is allow him to take care of all the things on his list, keep myself occupied with my hobbies and other things that keep me having a good use of this energy that I have, so that when I do see him, instead of pouting and being sad that I didn't get what I wanted when I wanted it, I'm happy, I'm refreshed, I'm a joy to be around, which makes him want to see me more on his own instead of me trying to manipulate with my woman ways. That's something that I had to correct because he was not having it. Lucy, what would you add?
Me, I think when we first met, when we were first getting to know each other, of course, this is a learned behavior because it happened in my family. It was when he would ask me if there was something wrong and he had made me upset, I would say, no, nothing. And it was the silent treatment. And it's like, I wouldn't talk to him. I wouldn't say anything. He's like, babe, what is wrong with you? And I feel so bad for him because he really was trying to figure out what had made me be this passive aggressive. And now I get angry and embarrassed because why would I do that to my poor husband that's been there for 17 years? And it's like he has taken my craziness, my what I call it, my hormonal tornadoes, and he has gotten used to them. But before it was, he didn't understand why I was so So just passive and not expressing what had made me upset. Now, of course, anytime that he does something, it's like, babe, you know what you did? This is what makes me very upset. And now it doesn't even happen because we've already gotten into the groove of who does what and how. But it's one of those things, that passive aggressiveness learned behavior that you do. I needed to check myself because it was just creating an environment where he was walking on eggshells because he didn't know which Lucy he was going to find that day. It's really scary, actually.
All right, let us continue. We love Tia Lucy, but do not, do not bring out the tornado. Let's go on.
I am accountable to my shortcomings. I'm accountable for and responsible for my shortcomings and limitations as a woman. Good men naturally want to take accountability and responsibility for their shortcomings. As women, we push away accountability. The last thing we want is to take responsibility. But when we take accountability for these behaviors, that's what allows us to evolve as women and wives, to become happy wives, to become loving and kind, to get to know ourselves as women and really bring that out into the marriage and into the relationship. But if we're unwilling to shine the flashlight on these behaviors and take responsibility and accountability for them, we will continue to be victims, blame our husbands, and never take responsibility and never have self-awareness of these issues and problems within ourselves that are toxic to our marriage and erode the relationship, and also erode our husband's sense of being a man and their own strength and confidence in who they are. The umbrella of the toxic behaviors I'm going to talk about today in us as women and as wives is our selfishness as women. As women, we are incredibly selfish and self-centered, especially in our marriages and relationships with men. And there's two sides of the coin to our selfishness. The first is that we are overly focused on ourselves, overly focused on our own wants, needs, and desires. And when we are overly focused on ourselves, the other side of selfishness is a complete lack of consideration of our husbands. Because we become so overly focused on ourselves, we have a total lack of consideration, care, thoughtfulness that is genuine and authentic for our husbands. We create a total world and reality in which everything revolves around us, and we have no capacity to think about our husbands and what could possibly be going on for them, what they could possibly be feeling, what they could possibly need in the relationship. And we are very, very self-serving.
All right, ladies, we are going to unpack this one, and it's going to hurt, but we have to talk about that selfishness. And it is hard to admit. And sometimes I wonder, my man and I, we have these philosophical conversations, and he's like, I wonder if women were wired to be selfish, the whole hypergamy or whatever, to be selfish because to protect, like a maternal instinct, like to protect the kids. I need the best, or I need to be in the best situation. I think it's gotten out of control. But again, the point of today's stream is to talk about how we are naturally wired so we can be aware of it and choose to be better. What does selfishness look like? If mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. Selfishness looks like that pouting if we don't get our way. Selfishness looks like he can fix his own plate. He's got arms. not considering, like she said, not considering what he's going through. And again, if you have a good man, one of the things, ladies, we have to realize, I miss Kevin so much, but one of the things Kevin Samuel said is, we women, especially modern women, we don't give men the full human experience. We just look at them like they're a workhorse. And if they're not catering to us, if they're not swimming over broken glass to bring us a lemonade, if they're not buying what we want, if they're not watching the movies that we want, if they're not doing our bidding, something is wrong with him. Have you ever thought, does he even want to be at this family function? Have you ever thought, does he even want to watch this show? Have you ever thought, does he even want to go to this restaurant? So I talk to women oftentimes. I do coaching and counseling outside of YouTube, but just starting with gratitude and realizing how much that we get just being in a relationship with a good man. Also, men carry so much and bury so much that they don't share with us. Men are raised to get better, get faster, work harder, be stronger, quit your crying, get back in the game, whatever it is. Men are just built to take that beating in life. And this circles back to why women, if you want to be that muse, if you want to be that inspiration, if you want to give your man that reason that he lights up after a long day, understanding what he's already gone through to get to you, and then doing the things that ease that burden in the way that you can, to give him that shot in the arm to go fight another day, instead of, what have you done for me lately? So if you see these behaviors in yourself, if it's always got to be what you want first, if you really never think, well, maybe he's hungry, did you even ask him, did you eat today? Do you even take the time to care about how he feels? Ask yourself that and see if maybe selfishness is an issue for you. What would you add, Lucy?
I'm glad you brought Kevin Samuels because I remember him. I think, and that was my my aha moment when he said, "When was the last time that you gave your significant other a good gift, something to that he will say, oh my goodness, this is great coming from you." So again, and we see that in every holiday in Christmas, how sometimes the men get socks or they get something like really un- just it's not as substantive than to give them something that makes us seem like we thought about it, we knew that that holiday was coming, and we took the time to know what he wanted for that. So again, yes, we are actually selfish, but it takes that stepping back and saying, what can I do in my husband's life to make his life just much better than what I'm doing right now?
Absolutely. Let's see what you all are saying in the chat. You all like the hormonal tornado. C-Sal says dealing with anger and resentment and forgiveness changes those emotional roller coasters. Yeah, she's going to talk about that in this episode. But ladies, the red thread, hopefully the takeaway that you realize is, this is on us. This is not on the good men that we pick. Believe me, their lives are a lot more simpler without us. Their lives are a lot more calm without us. Their lives are a lot less chaotic without us. But they love us and they embrace our craziness. So get better for the good man that you chose. UFO Kamikaze says, my ex-wife would secretly become annoyed by her female friends and coworkers telling her how good she had it. It's like she felt like they should have been praising her more. Shout out to the sisterhood. Don't even get me started on that. But yes, so many women are just ungrateful and expect people to come fall at their feet. And, I know he does 10 things right, but he didn't take the trash out this one day last year, and I'll never forgive him. Somebody else is praying for the relationship that you have. Erin Laura says, you agree. Thank you so much, my dear. UFO Kamikaze says, I personally felt a sense of pride when my friends would tell me how great my ex was. I guess we were just different in that way. You all are agreeing. Hello, Vieta. All right, let's continue on.
And that takes place with not being able to consider, again, their needs, that they have actual needs, that they're not just there to serve us, and that they have actual feelings that are valid and that matter. But we create this world in which we are the only person that exists in the relationship, and everything must revolve around us. That's the world we create in our marriage. And that selfishness becomes toxic because it leads to a total neglect of our husband's feelings and their needs. It is an extreme self-centeredness. And that selfishness begins to invade and become evasive in the relationship. And that's where it erodes our husband's sense of being a man. It erodes the marriage. And we need to know that our selfishness can be overt or covert. Many women, and working with women for almost a decade now, many women know that we are selfish and know that we are incredibly self-centered in our marriage. Then there are other women where the selfishness is more covert because we hide behind the guise and the facade of being caring and doing things for others and thinking of others and putting others before ourselves. It does not, another topic for another time, doesn't come from a genuine kind place. It comes from a place of being nice, which I'll do a video soon on the difference between nice and kind. But if you are a nice woman and you give frequently to others or are thinking of others, it can be difficult for you to see yourself as selfish. I understand that was more the category I fell in. I had the facade of being very sweet and generous and caring of others, but it was self-serving. And I had to begin to see myself as selfish because I hid it and I couldn't see it. So if you're watching and you're thinking, I don't really know myself as selfish, what I'm going to do in outlining now the 3 toxic wife behaviors that we have, the umbrella of our toxicity as women being our selfishness. Hopefully, you can see yourself in these toxic behaviors and start to understand how you are selfish and self-centered in your marriage and how that's eroding your husband and your marriage. The first toxic wife behavior, now that we've set it up and understanding that it's our selfishness and self-centeredness as women, the first toxic wife behavior I want to talk about that actually explains why we are so selfish is our walls.
All right, I promise I did that cliffhanger on purpose. I'm gonna let you all hear what she says about 1, but she said something really, really impactful about being nice and how that, on the other hand, can be selfish. And so I just want to touch that. Then we'll play one last clip and wrap it up. Ladies, those of us who call ourselves nice, who like to do things for others, my man called me out on this one. It's not genuine if you expect something back from it. You are not a true giver if, when it doesn't come back the way that you wanted it, then you get your fit. I'll give you an example. I know someone who was in a relationship with her man who fell ill under the weather. And the way that he wanted to recover, like a lot of men, they kind of retreat. They kind of want to be left alone. Don't baby me. I even see that in my son. Mom, stop babying me. Oh, take your medicine. They don't like that. She got so offended that he didn't want her there doting on everything. To him, that was stressful. She called me incredulous. Can you believe? All I want to do is take care of him. All I want to do is cut up fruit for him. All I want to do is be helpful. He doesn't want that. So you've clouded yourself and say, but I just want to do the nice thing. I just want to be there. I just want to be right. Have you considered how he feels? So those of us who give, and ladies, you can admit it or don't admit it. I've also talked to women who we do one or two things good in a row. I counseled a woman who actually asked her man, well, are you going to take me out? Don't you think I deserve that? And I wanted to throw my shoe again. I actually asked her, you open your mouth to ask him, don't you think I deserve to go out? Because what you've done, you bought him, a snack or something. Now, in your mind, you really weren't doing it to be nice. It's another woman way of manipulating to get what we want. So, ladies, I'm going to tell you, like my man tells me, if your heart is not in it, if it's not genuine and pure, do not do it. If you're looking for something to weasel your way just by putting on the nice, it's not genuine and it will backfire. Don't do it. What would you add, Lucy?
I agree. That's like lending someone money and expecting and getting angry that you don't get it back. That's like if you lend someone money, you better having the back of your brain that you're not going to get it paid. So you better understand that you're in a financial position to be able to say, I'm done with that money. I don't expect it back. Because then that resentment is going to uh, grow and it's going to just make you unhappy. So again, I think your man was spot on on what he said. If you think that you're going to the nice thing that you're going to give, it's going to be um, responded the same way, is you're not gonna have it. People are so different, and especially men. Men do things their own way, and it takes us as wives to know that you're not gonna get that incredible thank you that you're expecting, because that's not the man that you have. So again, it takes we I think somebody on one of our live streams said you need to study your man. That's the only way that you're not going to create those walls. Because once you know that you're not going to get that response, that's my husband, that's who he is.
Absolutely. All right, one last clip and then we'll wrap it up. I'll go ahead and put myself on the hot seat for that one. I had to stop making meals and looking for an exorbitant response. I'd be like, yeah, it's good. And if you know anything about me, I'm looking for, this is the best spaghetti ever. And he's just like, it's good. Followed by, if it wasn't, I'd tell you. Y'all, get a real man if you want to. Your feelings will get hurt regularly. Let's go on.
The first toxic wife behavior we have as women is that we have walls. This was the most important experience of my red pilling as a woman. What I'm sharing with you today is really the foundation of the behaviors I had to see about myself as a woman to begin to forge a new path, to change for myself and to change in honor and respect of my marriage and my husband and my walls, and seeing the extent of which I had built walls in my life and the extent of which they were malicious and harmful to my husband and malicious and harmful to myself was the first place that I had to start. That was really the foundation of my emasculating ways, the foundation of my manipulative ways in my relationship, and my toxicity as a wife. Our walls, as women, having walls up is why we are so selfish. And as I explain walls, that will become apparent why. And all women know, I have yet to work with a woman. I've worked with hundreds of women. I have yet to work with a woman who does not know that she has her walls up and that she is guarding her heart. And it's very common So I want to address this right from the get-go. It's very common for women to say, I don't have walls. My husband has walls. If you are married to a good man, good men don't have walls. Good men might withdraw in response to our toxic behaviors and withdraw in response to our walls and how our walls make good men feel and how hurtful they are. So again, he disengages, withdraws from the relationship, but he does not put walls up as we do as women. So we build a barrier around our heart to protect ourselves from being hurt by others. And as women, we began to build our walls around our heart the first time that we were hurt, usually from a man or our first boyfriend or our first crush growing up, and not hurt in a malicious way necessarily. Hurt, as I have come to learn, is a natural part of life. As women, we have never been taught to navigate hurt in a constructive way, to heal it, to let it go. And from the first time that we got hurt, the first time that we got hurt, we said to ourselves, I'm never letting that happen again. And we began to build the fortress around our heart. I can remember the first time that I was hurt, and I began to build walls around my heart, specifically in relationships with men. I was 11 years old, 11 or 12. I was in the 6th grade. And I had my first kiss. And I had never kissed anyone. The guy, we called it going with. If anyone remembers, I grew up in the 90s. I graduated high school in 2002. And we called it going with. And I remember my dad used to tease me. He'd be like, who are you going with? Where are you guys going? But I was going with a boy. Neither of us had had our first kiss. And I remember having our first kiss, which is always so awkward. There's like people around. It's like at a middle school basketball game. And he broke up with me the next day. And I was crushed. And to boot, it was April Fool's Day. And I thought it was a joke. And I couldn't let it in. Like he sent his friend to break up with me. And I was crushed. And I know that was the moment that I began to build walls around my heart and say, I'm never, ever letting this happen again.
All right, ladies. So we have to talk about this one as our last point. If you all are liking this conversation, if you all want us to do part 2, part 3, let us know in the chat. So she talks about the walls that women put up, whether you know it or don't. But ladies, when I think about this, being a mom of boys, has just completely changed my life. So she had her heart broken at 11. She kissed a boy. He broke up with her the next day. And she swore at 11 that nobody was ever going to hurt her that way again. Think about an 11-year-old girl having that experience. And I don't know how old she was when she got married. I think she said they've been married 10 years. She's almost 40. So age 30. So for 20 years, I'm making it up, she has been building this fortress around her heart, knowingly or unknowingly. What did Kevin Samuel say? We make men in our future pay for the sins or the mistakes of our past. I'm probably butchering it, but the beautiful, wonderful husband and marriage that she has, that man is paying the price for something he didn't do. He's getting the cold shoulder. He's getting the, I don't know if I believe what you said. Have you ever thought about, take a boy, let's say a boy at 11 kissed a girl and she broke up with him. By the time he gets married, let's say at 30, how many heartbreaks has he had? How many times has he asked a girl out? She's laughed in his face. She's blown him up on social media. She's clowned him in front of her girlfriends. You're not tall enough. That's what you drive. You don't make enough money. Those are your shoes. How many times have men been kicked in the teeth by the girls of their dreams, but they keep trying again? As a mother, I could just cry, but they get up and they try again. They say, you know what? Okay, maybe not her. Somebody else is going to love me. And they finally find a woman that they believe is going to be devoted to them. And because they didn't take out the trash. Now, the fortress goes up and they got to pay the price for some kid back in the 5th grade who broke up with you on April Fool's Day. So I hope I'm bringing the point home, ladies, that this is who we are at our core. This is what we do, knowingly or unknowingly. But we can definitely change it once we have the awareness. And that's what we're trying to share with you all tonight. And really consider the good men that we have as already putting up with so much of our stuff. Like she said, we women, we have not been raised to deal with disappointment. And again, that goes back to the selfishness. Can you believe he broke up with me? You don't break up with me. I do the breaking up. Selfish. So until we address that in our own selves, this is going to continue to happen. And we will either poison the relationships that we have, or the good men will get to a point and just say, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. Good luck. And you will find yourself alone. What would you say to close us out, Lucy?
Oh, that was beautiful. I got nothing else to say on that because I put myself in your sons or your, if I had a son or my brother, my husband, when they were younger and all that rejection after rejection, unfortunately, even though we think that it doesn't hurt them, of course it hurts them. And it's funny because my mom and my sisters, they like to go to this place where you dance salsa. It's called Sabroso Sunday. It's and they make fun of me because I don't like going. You know why? Because I hate having to say no to a man that asks me to go dance. I'm a married woman. I shouldn't be there. But for them, they see it like fun. Everything is great. But for me, it's very uncomfortable to have to say no to a good man that comes. All they want to do is dance. But I'm a married woman. I should be there with my husband. Anyway, so it breaks my heart to just think that our men go through so much rejection. Yeah, that builds them, but it's also they have a heart. They have, it breaks their heart, especially if it's somebody that they care for. So anyway, that was just God an example. If I just think of your sons having to deal with that, year after year, it's just I can't imagine.
Exactly. Thank you, Erin. Laura says that was great. I'm glad this is helpful. Ladies, this is what we do. Lucy and I are here twice a week for you all, usually Thursdays and Saturdays. Just turn on your notifications. We love to give back to the community. Again, registration is open for the finishing school. If you want to go deeper in an 8-week program, we only do it twice a year, and we will actually have an advanced course in November on wife archetypes. If you want to know the different types of men and the different types of wives that they require, if marriage is important to you, we will be teaching that in November, also another private class, but you need to take the foundation first. So the finishing school is open to ladies of all ages. It's on Zoom, it's recorded, but we teach it live and you have lifetime access. And we have an amazing graduation weekend in April that we have for you all. We'll be talking about that on Saturday, one part of it. So we're going to go ahead and leave you here. I'm glad this was helpful, you all. Ladies that are watching, whether you watch live or watch the replay, think about any toxic behaviors that you have or have had, any selfishness, any walls that you have, anything that you've done to plant those insidious seeds in your relationship. Because you don't want to be an older woman like we are and not have someone who's emotionally invested in you because of the damage that you have done. And you can change that hopefully before it's too late. All right, everyone, have a good evening. We will see you all, I think, Saturday afternoon. We'll be back with something a little bit lighter, a little bit more fun. Until then, stay tuned. We'll do part 2 next week. All right, everyone.
Adios.
Adios.